Are you trying to get weight loss support through telehealth, but it feels overwhelming and rushed? Check out orderlymeds.com now. Orderlymeds.com was built to be different. Here, you connect with real doctors who take the time to understand your goals, review your eligibility, and guide you through a plan that's right for you. Orderly Meds provides access to proven GLP-1 medications like semaglutide and tirzepatide, including both name brand options and personalized compound versions when appropriate. So you have choices backed by clinical oversight, not guesswork. It's a simpler, more supportive telehealth experience designed around people who want clarity, care, and confidence in their weight loss journey. And your medication is delivered directly to your home in discreet packaging, so your experience stays private from start to finish. Do your research, ask the right questions, then visit orderlymeds.com/podcast for an exclusive offer. Again, that's orderlymeds.com/podcast. Individual results may vary, not medical advice. Eligibility required. See site for details.
During Memorial Day at Lowe's, shop household must-haves for less. Save $80 on a Charbroil Performance Series 4-burner grill to chef up something special. Plus, get up to 45% off select major appliances to keep things fresh. Our best lineup is here at Lowe's. Lowe's, we help, you save. Valid through 5/27 while supplies last. Selection varies by location. See Lowes.com for details.
Visit your nearby Lowe's on East 17th Avenue in Hutchinson.
It's a winter night in 1897. There are several people around the fire. One of them is an old woman who's affectionately known to everyone in the group as Granny. She's the oldest person here, the one with the longest memory, the one they all look to when they don't understand something. She's 87 years old and her memory reaches back to a time before her people had ever seen a white man. She's lived through the full catastrophe of what followed, and she's still here, sitting by this fire on a cold night, watching the dark beyond the flames the way she's watched it her entire life, carefully, knowing full well that that darkness is not empty. The group are chattering away, their bellies full, discussing the day's fishing, when the cry comes from that darkness. It rises out of the bush, somewhere close to the water. It's a sound that seems to be asking a question and making a threat at the same time. It's not fully animal, but not anything else. The man closest to the fire suggests it might be a possum, maybe a bandicoot, and then with some desperation, a mopoke having a nightmare, or a dingo that swallowed a fishbone. The others shake their heads. These are not the right answers, and they all sense it. It becomes even more apparent when they notice that Granny has gone very still, her eyes staring intently into the darkness surrounding them. When she does speak, she doesn't raise her voice. She says slowly, calmly, "I know what this is. I've heard it before. I've seen it before." And she has seen it. Twice. The first time she was just a child. She and her older sister had gone down to the beach one afternoon to play at the water's edge, perhaps find a few mussels on the rocks. The day was warm and the waves were low, and they were in no hurry to be anywhere. Her older sister was the first one to go quiet. She reached out and grabbed Granny's arm firmly, and when Granny looked at her, she saw that her sister was staring along the beach toward the rocks as the waves came in. "Shh," she whispered. Sitting on those rocks with its back to them, looking out to sea, was something Granny had never, ever laid eyes on. It wasn't large, smaller than a grown man, about the size of a child, maybe 10 years old, and its body was covered in hair the colour of an ironbark after the rain. It sat there with an ease and stillness that suggested it had been there for a long time and expected to be there for even longer. It was just watching the water, The waves crashed around it, but it didn't flinch. The thoughts of this creature were cast out well beyond the breakers. Thankfully, it didn't seem to see them, and nor did it hear them with the waves crashing. So the girls began to creep backwards, one slow step and then another. Not breathing, not speaking, their eyes fixed on the creature the whole time. And when they were far enough away, Granny's older sister grabbed her by the hand. And they ran. They sprinted all the way back to camp. They ran until their legs burned and their feet hurt, and their beach was far behind them, and the fire of the camp was in sight, and the people around it were close enough to call out to. Granny did not tell that story lightly. In fact, most of the people around the fire that night had heard 1,000 of her stories before this, but never that one. She'd carried it for decades and only brought it out now, when she was reminded of it by that sound. But the sound wasn't connected to that first story. The sound reminded her of the second encounter she had with that creature. The Junjudee, she called it. The little hairy man. Welcome to Strewth. I'm your storyteller, Mark, and this is the show where we go looking for the stories that Australia doesn't quite know what to do with. The cases that sit in the gap between what happened and what we can prove. Today's story is far older than European settlement of this continent. It's a story that's told across thousands of kilometres of landscape, in dozens of languages, by people who have never compared notes. It's told more recently too, by soldiers, by farmers, by horsewomen, by school children, and by elders whose grandparents' grandparents passed it down. And this episode is a request from Ebony. I hope you enjoy it. But right now, let's get back to that campfire, because I'm sure you want to hear about Granny's second encounter. On this occasion, she was a married woman, and she and her husband were camped on a still night. They drifted off to sleep without a care in the world. Whatever sounds the bush around them was making, she'd slept through all of them. These sounds were familiar, calming, in fact. But all of a sudden, she woke. She did not know at first what had woken her. The fire had burned down, but still gave a little light, enough to see the shapes around the camp, the trees at the edge of the clearing, the dirt between. She lay perfectly still and looked across those coals. It was crouched on the other side of the fire, and it was staring straight at her, straight into her. Its eyes caught the orange light the way a dog's eyes catch a torch in the dark, and in that light she could make out the shape of the face. Wide, flat-nosed, the dark fall of hair around it. It wasn't moving. It had been there, it seemed, for some time, sitting with its arms resting on its knees, patient as a rock, just watching her sleep. She didn't scream. She didn't run. She reached over slowly and put her hand on her husband's arm and pressed, firmly, the way her sister had done all those years before. He was awake in an instant. He read the stillness of her body and the direction of her eyes, and he knew that there was something wrong. He followed her gaze and saw the creature for himself, still sitting, waiting. He rose gently to his feet without rushing, without the sudden movement that might provoke it. He slowly reached down and picked up the tomahawk that lay beside him. In one deliberate motion, he drove the blade of the tomahawk downward into the earth between himself and the creature. The blade went deep into the ground. He spoke, not loudly. The words were directed toward the thing across the fire. An incantation, perhaps. The right word said in the right way, at the right moment. A boundary drawn not in space, but in meaning. The creature looked at him, for the first time showing emotion on its face. Something between fear and disgust. It stood, turned, and ran. And as it entered the tree line, it made a horrendous sound. It was the same sound that Granny and all of those with her around the campfire are hearing right now. All of those memories rushing back to her. It was the type of sound that seemed to silence the crackle of the fire and replace it with a feeling of cold water running down your spine and an icy hand gripping your heart. They sat there, the fire ticking, settling, silent, and the bush, mercifully, says nothing more. Until a curlew screams nearby. One of those birds whose night cry sounds exactly like a woman in mortal terror. And every single person around that fire jumps half out of their skin, and someone laughs, and the tension breaks open just a little, and they sit closer together and wait for morning. This story appeared in the Evening News on the 27th of February 1897. The woman who told it was 87 years old, and she had seen the thing twice with her own eyes and heard it on several other occasions. She was not, by any account, a woman who frightened easily, but she was frightened of this. The tradition of this little hairy man is not a regional curiosity. It's not a single community story, localised to one patch of country and passed down by a handful of elders. It runs the full length and breadth of the Australian continent. In the northeast of New South Wales, it's called the Junjudee. In other parts of the country, the Njimbin, the Yowie, the Netnet, the Junjaree. To early white settlers, the term brown jack was often thrown about. The names shift with the language in the country. And while the name does change, the description of the creature itself does not. It appears in stories from the farthest corners of the country, told by people from different language groups who, at the time, had had no contact with one another. It's described in ways that are consistent across geography and across centuries. And that consistency is, in and of itself, perhaps the most important evidence we have. The physical description is remarkably stable. The Junjudee stands between 2 and 5 feet tall. It's solidly built, muscular and wide for its height. The arms are proportionate to the legs. The face is flat, with a wide nose and a large mouth. The eyes are described as either red or orange, and tend to glow, especially in firelight. It walks on 2 legs, almost always on 2 legs. The one thing that does vary is the colour of the hair or fur. Some describe it as black, some auburn, some brown, but I suppose that's the same with humans. The smell, too, often comes up in reported sightings. Witnesses who have been within a few metres of one consistently describe a powerful animal odour, but different from a dog, a cow, or any other creature they might have encountered. One account from the Northern Territory described it as something like a badly kept public toilet. Several sources note that you would smell one well before you saw it. The voice is part howl, part scream, and part something else. A mix that doesn't sit cleanly in any category. In some accounts, it communicates in what witnesses describe as chirping or gibberish, or what sounds like one figure calling to another. There is a consistency in witness descriptions suggesting it does communicate, though nothing that has been identified as a structured language. But the behaviour of the creature does vary significantly, depending on whereabouts the tale you're hearing comes from. In many parts of the country, the little hairy man is understood as mischievous. It plays pranks. It interacts with children, sometimes playfully, and sometimes in ways that are slightly more alarming. There are accounts of it playing with young children on cattle stations, invisible to the adults nearby. In some areas, though, it is actively, deliberately dangerous. It enters camps, it attacks sleeping people. It holds them, pins them down, grabs them by the head in a way that has a quality of paralysis about it. You can't call out, you can't move. You simply endure until it ends. It's known to eat shellfish, mussels, crawfish, and even on occasion doesn't mind a bit of honey. It sleeps in hollow stumps and caves, and some sources suggest in small nests made from plant material. It's also important to name up front that this is not a Yowie, although it's regularly mistaken for one. For our international listeners not familiar with the term, the Yowie is Australia's version of Bigfoot, Sasquatch, Yeti. Although the two are routinely lumped together by people who should know better, they are distinct creatures with distinct traditions. In fact, in some circles, it is widely known that the Junjudee is the thing that the Yowie is afraid of. Far North Queensland, the country west and north of Tully in the tropical rainforest belt that runs along the base of the Great Dividing Range. In these parts, the tree canopy closes over you. The undergrowth is dense and old and goes back in every direction without interruption. Logging roads end, and then the country continues on, with or without you. In the 1960s, a man is felling timber in this country. Over the course of several weeks, he consistently sees something through the trees, movement that doesn't correspond to any animal he knows. And he does know this bush. He's been working it for years, often alone. He knows what a scrub turkey looks like in the undergrowth, what a cassowary sounds like moving at speed, what a big boar does when it catches your scent. This is none of those things. One night, he and his brother are sleeping in a bush hut in the Kerama Range. As his brother snores, he watches in the darkness as the door to the hut, quietly, steadily, opens. Something steps into the hut. He's expecting a full-grown man, but is taken aback by the size of the silhouette before him. It's small and hairy, and in an instant it comes at them in the dark. They wrestle with it, a genuine physical struggle, the kind that leaves scratches, bruises. None of this is making sense. It's ridiculously strong for something of this size, far stronger than two men in their physical prime are expecting it to be. It breaks free and leaps through an open window, and in one movement, it's gone back into the darkness. Neither man is given to flights of fancy, and neither man reports it publicly at the time. Plenty of others in this country, before and since, have seen something similar.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile, with a message for everyone paying big wireless way too much. Please, for the love of everything good in this world, stop. With Mint, you can get premium wireless for just $15 a month. Of course, if you enjoy overpaying, no judgments, but that's weird. Okay, one judgment. Anyway, give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
Your pet is your bestie, your therapist, your perfect match. It's easy to love them. It's easy to protect them, too, with pet insurance coverage from Pets Best. Because it's all fun and games until they chew on something they shouldn't. And you get a vet bill to match. With perfect timing, Pets Best helps protect your furry friend and your budget from this imperfect world. Get up to 90% cash back on eligible vet bills from less than $1 a day. Pets Best has plans to cover accidents, injuries, and more, from puppies and kittens to seniors. Find your perfect match plan and get a quote at petsbest.com. Pet insurance products offered and administered by Pets Best Insurance Services, LLC, are underwritten by American Pet Insurance Company or Independence American Insurance Company. For terms and conditions, visit www.petsbest.com/policy. Products are underwritten by American Pet Insurance Company, Independence American Insurance Company, or MS Transverse Insurance Company, and administered by Pets Best Insurance Services, LLC. $1 a day premium based on 2024 average new policyholder data for accident and illness plans, pets age 0 to 10.
In early 1982, Corporal J. Webster is 19 days into a military training operation in the tropical rainforest north of Tully, in the Cape York Peninsula. The exercise takes soldiers along ancient Aboriginal paths cut through the forest over generations. And on one of those paths, Webster finds something he can't explain. It's like a really rudimentary mat. Rectangular, roughly 3 feet by 3 feet, made from calamus leaves, the leaves of the rattan palm. It's not been cut or trimmed, it's been chewed at the ends of each strand. Precisely, deliberately, shaped into a mat and laid flat on the ground. This particular expedition includes an archaeologist named Dr. John Campbell, and Campbell examines the mat. He turns it over, studies the edges and considers it for a long moment. He says if I were anywhere but here in Australia, I would have to say that this was a primate nest. Australia, of course, has no native primates. 3 years later, in July 1985, Webster's back in this country. He's camped with 9 other soldiers near Downy Creek in Cape Palmerston National Park. They're about 50 feet from a trail through the jungle when one of them sees it. A figure at the edge of the trees, rubbing itself against a trunk. When it notices the group staring, it stops. It stands up on its hind legs. It stares at them for a couple of seconds, and then it walks, unhurried, back into the bush. It's almost 5 feet tall, wide through the body and covered in hair. Small eyes, a large mouth. In Webster's account, it's described as not quite animal, not quite man. 10 soldiers saw it, and none of them had a ready explanation. In the First Nations communities of this same country, the creature is feared. It comes at night. It finds you sleeping and it doesn't ask permission. You wake to find yourself held, your head gripped, your body pinned, your voice gone. You can't scream. You're not injured, but you are shown very clearly that you are not in control of this situation, and you endure it until it decides that you're ready to be released, and it moves on. Elders who speak about the Junjaree, as it's known in these parts, do not describe it as they would a dreamtime creature. They describe it as very much in the present, a thing that has always been part of this country and continues to be. South of Queensland, in New South Wales, the sightings continue. Also in 1985, a group of boys is on a school camp in the Royal National Park, south of Sydney, near a bay called Port Hacking. They're staying at a cabin run by the Anglican Youth Department. There are 5 boys and a teacher. The oldest among the boys is perhaps 12, the youngest 10. Their names, in the public record at least, are reduced to just one: Adam Bennett, who is 10 years old. They wake in the middle of the night to screaming. It's not a possum, it's not a bird. It's a sound that brings all of them out of their bunks and out of the door of the cabin and into the dark. The noises are coming from the bush. They get louder as the boys move toward them. Bennett has a flashlight. He sweeps it toward the sound. Just 10 feet away, the beam finds something. It's covered in long brown hair. The head is large. The face is flat. The nose is wide. The ears are round. The eyes are large and red, catching the light like an animal's in the dark. It screams. It runs. They run. 5 boys and a teacher in the national park south of Sydney. 10 feet away. Brown hair. Red eyes. "18 years later, and several hundred kilometres north, an encounter that Tony Healy, one of Australia's most experienced investigators of the phenomenon, describes as one of his favourite recent cases. It's 2003, and Margaret is riding horses with her daughter through the hill country near Junjudee, a small settlement in the ranges west of Lismore, in the Northern Rivers region of New South Wales. They've been riding for a while, out through a farmer's gate, up a steep climb, and now they're walking the horses to cool them down on the flat at the top of the ridge. It's open dairy country up here, cleared pasture, with a very small strand of stringy barks at one edge, and nothing else but grass and sky. The horses stop. Both of them, at the same moment, without prompting. Their heads come up. Margaret's daughter says, "Mum, it's a hairy little man." 20 metres away in the open pasture with nowhere to hide, there is a figure. It's roughly 4'10", slight, the build of a slightly built grade 5 child. It has auburn hair, close and even across the entire body, the colour of a red setter dog. It's got a flat face, no visible nose or mouth in the profile. Longish arms. It's standing upright, completely upright, and then it runs. Not away from them, that's the thing with this particular encounter. It does not turn and bolt for the bush. Instead, it zigzags. 30 metres to the left, 30 metres back to the right, then left again, running in front of them, repeatedly, drawing them toward the small stand of stringy barks. Margaret, who is a long-distance runner from way back, watches it and thinks, that is an athlete. That's someone who knows what they're doing with their body. Deliberate, rhythmic strides, perfect balance, arms and legs in exact coordination. This is not someone in a suit. They follow on horseback. The creature is never more than 40 metres ahead. It reaches the stringy barks and goes in. This cluster of trees they see it enter is no more than 5 metres square, and the trees are just saplings, 20 centimetres at most across the trunk. And there's no lantana, no undergrowth, nothing to hide behind. Margaret rides right up to the edge of it, and the creature's not there. She and her daughter ride around the small group of trees, through it. They check every angle, but there's nothing. He'd completely vanished, Margaret would later say. I can't explain it. He had nowhere to hide in there. Margaret was not some type of Yowie hunter. She'd not even heard of the Junjudee. She knew nothing of the tradition in this part of the world when she looked up and found something 20 metres away in open pasture that shouldn't have been there. She's a bushie, a horsewoman, pragmatic, someone who's spent her life outdoors and knows the animals in it. She reports the sighting to a few different people, and she's told she must have been on the good stuff. And while she wouldn't be on her Pat Malone in the Northern Rivers if that were a habit she kept, Margaret was not a smoker, on this occasion or ever. Later, a mechanic neighbour, a quiet, staunch man who, as Margaret puts it, lives by himself and keeps to himself, quietly tells her he's also seen it. A little hairy man. Near his workshop at night, his dog had been barking. Food had been going missing from the workshop fridge, and he went out with a spotlight, and there it was. He described exactly what Margaret saw. The old man on the small acreage next door had seen it too. This was not a figment of her imagination. Curious, Margaret eventually speaks to the Aboriginal elder of the Njimbin area, a Bunjalung man who has lived in this country his whole life, and when she tells him what he saw, he says, "Hairy man, I wish I could see one of those little buggers." He's been getting reports for years, he tells her, and some people keep it to themselves, because you get called a nut. In fact, the town of Njimbin itself was named after the creature. A 1977 edition of the Richmond River Historical Society Bulletin records that Njimbin was named after small, hairy creatures that Bunjalung Aboriginals described as living in the area. They were described in that bulletin as sort of hobbits. The tradition and the sightings are in this one valley in northern New South Wales, inseparable from the landscape itself. The name of the town says so. But this continent of ours is large, and the little hairy man, despite his stature, appears to know all of it, to have been just about everywhere. May 2015, Trafina Creek, approximately 100 kilometres north of Alice Springs in the red centre of Australia. An Aboriginal woman is camping alone in the outback. She's up before dawn, moving quietly through the dark. She hears a sound near the mouth of the creek she's camped beside, but she ignores it. She makes a fire and starts to cook herself some breakfast. But in that firelight, with the first grey light of morning beginning to come up, she sees a figure 3 feet tall at the edge of her camp. It has what she describes as a gorilla-like face, black hair, protruding canine teeth, long arms. It smells, she describes later, something like a drop dunny. For our international listeners, or those of you who haven't spent much time camping, let's just say that that's not a smell you want to be familiar with. It looks at her. It makes a noise, not a word, but something with the quality of communication. Gibberish, she calls it. And then it turns and runs, and as it runs, it screams, high-pitched, cutting across the still desert morning. Because remember, this is not rainforest country. This is not a steep gully in the northern rivers. This is the red centre, flat, open, ancient. Thousands of kilometres from Queensland, and yet the same small figure, the same flat face, the same smell, the same sound. The tradition reaches here too. It always has. And not content with being stuck up north, there've even been sightings down here in Tasmania too. 7th of July 2024, the Christmas Hills Reserve near Elizabethtown, north of Deloraine and the north of Tasmania. A man named Warren drives into the reserve early in the morning to collect firewood. He follows logging tracks through the bush, notices some saplings are bent and snapped at the roadside, and turns his car around to head back out. Coming around a corner onto a straight stretch of logging track, something darts across the road ahead of him. It comes out of the left side of the forest, crosses the track, and just as quickly disappears into the right side of bush. Warren estimates it's 40 to 50 metres away. He slows the car down, trying to make sense of what he's seeing. 4 to 5 feet tall, black hair longer than a chimpanzee's, running on its hind legs, with its arms low, not held up, not swinging, brushing the ground, like it's helping with balance. The back legs are doing all the hard work. The hind legs are the motor, as Warren will later put it. It doesn't look at him, it just keeps moving, looking where it's running, and then it's gone into the trees on the right side of the track. What strikes Warren, aside from everything else, is the speed. The logging track is rough, rocky dirt. He says a human could not do that. Your feet would be cut to pieces, cut to shreds. This thing moved across them like it was running on smooth bitumen, faster than any human, overground no human would choose to go running on. Paul Cropper, who has been investigating cases like this for nearly 4 decades and has spoken to over 250 witnesses, records Warren's account the following day. This wasn't entirely out of the blue. Warren had been noticing strange things near this property for years. A large rock thrown against the house wall in the dark. Tree knocking through the night in the forest across the road. He describes always feeling watched when he goes into that section of the bush. So they're just a few of hundreds of similar reports, and the accounts kept coming. From 1897 to 2024, from the rainforest to the red centre to the cold forests of Tasmania, from soldiers and horsewomen and children and farmers who had nothing to gain and everything to lose by saying what they saw. The descriptions are too consistent across too much distance and too much time to sit comfortably in any easy category. Small, hairy, fast, gone. Whatever the Junjudee is, it's never waited around to be caught. It's been glimpsed at the edge of firelight and open pasture and logging tracks and left only the shape of itself behind. A shape that this country has had plenty of names for, but no real explanation. Strewth. Thanks for listening to another episode of Strewth. As I mentioned at the start, this one was a request for Ebony, so thanks so much for reaching out, Ebony. And I'd just like to take this opportunity to thank so many people over the past couple of weeks for commenting, for subscribing, for reaching out, for signing up to Strewth Premium. I don't know what's going on, but you guys, seriously, in the last couple of weeks, have shown incredible support for this tiny show made in my shed here in Tassie. And I cannot thank you enough. There are, thankfully, plenty more crazy, weird, inexplicable Australian stories to tell. And I'm looking forward to telling as many of those to you as I can. So from me, cheers. I'll catch you next time when I'll tell you a little story about a shark. But probably not in the way that you're imagining.